Are you ready? I think I'm recording this for posterity because it'll be hilarious one way or another. Thanks for coming along. Nice to see you. I think most of you have been to LivLUG before or know a bit about it, so I won't go through what LivLUG is. The first rule of LivLUG is you do not talk about LivLUG. This is a presentation that I ended up. We had someone lined up to do a talk on Wireshark and security stuff tonight, and then they pulled out at the last minute. So I had to throw something together. But I have been playing around with containers in Firefox, and a few people don't seem to know about them. So I thought it might be interesting. And then I thought, being that it's almost Valentine's Day, I thought I'll do 5 reasons I love Firefox. As it says on the disclaimer, it may actually contain more or less than 5 reasons. Buyer beware. What have I done there? I've lost the input. Okay, hopefully that's not an indication of how things are going to go. I think I know you all, but if I don't, my name's Dan. Hello. I should say hello to the camera. Hello, camera. All right, and so I don't need to look that way, actually. Do I? Yeah, so quick outline of what we're going to talk about. This goes back to years ago when I did teacher training. They told us you've got to tell people what you're going to tell them, then tell them it, and then tell them what you've just told them at the end. So get ready for that. So here's what I'm going to tell you, which is a quick history of Firefox. The 5 reasons, or some reasons, I think there's more than 5, that I love Firefox. I'll do a bit of a demo on private containers and temporary containers, which, to be honest, Will actually got me onto, who sat over there. So if there's any, there you go. Oh, so if there's any issues, I'm just going to direct to you. It's not working. And then, I put, it's not all sweetness and light. So just in the interest of balance, I thought I'd put, some of the, there's a few bugs in Firefox and stuff, but
so reasons why we should use Internet Explorer.
Yeah, reasons why you should get Internet Explorer 5 running on a virtual machine, and then that's the summary is where I'm going to tell you what I told you. So to start off, when I put this up, a few people were like, "Oh, is it going to be just bashing all of the browsers and stuff?" And I'm not really into that, so. As I've put there, I didn't come for a religious war. Basically, use whatever browser you want. This is why I like Firefox. I think there's some compelling reasons. I have got some reasons in here why I don't like Chrome. So get ready for that. When I said there's no religious war, there might be. Does anyone recognise that photo, by the way? Yes. I know some of you will. And I put that in just for any fans of Spaced about the religious war thing. So I'm not going to be defending the fantasy genre with terminal intensity. All right, and the other thing is, if you've come for a talk about the 1982 film Firefox with Clint Eastwood, that's not tonight either. I really hoped someone was going to walk out at this point, but sadly not. I just wanted someone to go off. Just walk out. But sadly not. So that's the last time you're going to see Clint Eastwood tonight. Well, unless you've got arrangements with him for after this. But in this talk, that's the last time you're going to see Clint Eastwood. So it's not about that Firefox either. So let's go to a brief history of Firefox. Lots of you probably know this already, but I've been reading up on this today. There's some quite interesting stuff. So originally, Firefox, it was kind of late 90s. There were some people at Mozilla who weren't very happy with what they called the Mozilla Suite at the time, which I never used. I don't know if anyone knows it, but it was early attempts at web browsing, email, all that sort of stuff in one go, news groups probably, all that sort of stuff, bulletin boards. And they thought it was too big and clunky, so they wanted to spin out the browser bit of it and just make a web browser because the web was starting to become a popular thing. They were going to call it Phoenix originally. That was the original name for it because Netscape Navigator, which, did anyone use Netscape Navigator? Do you use that? So that's a picture of it there in all its glory. One of the versions, version 3.01 or whatever. That was a popular kind of rival to Internet Explorer at the time, and it was fairly even. And then Microsoft bundled Internet Explorer. I said bungled. Who can say? Microsoft bundled Internet Explorer with, I think, Windows 98, or it wasn't 95. It was 98. And then that just killed Netscape really, because everybody was already had a browser. They weren't going to get another one. So they were like, "Oh, we've got a browser. Don't need one." So Netscape were in trouble, and they, went down. And the code base was open source. Basically, it was taken over, and that became the basis, the kind of code base for the first versions of Firefox. So yeah, they wanted to call it Phoenix, as it says there, because it rose from the ashes of Netscape Navigator. I think they were trying to be clever. But there was a company called Phoenix Industries or something who had something to do with computers at the time who said, like, I think not. So then they decided they were going to call it Firebird, which it says at the bottom there. And then it turns out there was a popular database at the time called Firebird. And they said they weren't happy. So apparently their user group or whatever, the Firebird fanatics, whatever they call themselves, they became very vocal about the fact that they didn't want it called Firebird. So then they were like, oh, we'll just call it Firefox then. So I don't think there's a lot of great thinking behind the name, other than they tried every other name and they weren't allowed. So this is the original logo that it was going to have. Looks a bit different, as it says there, to what we have now. I find that a bit weird and kind of intimidating. Maybe that's just me.
You've got a deep-seated fear.
I've got a thing going with seagulls. So, yeah. Anyway, although that's not a seagull. So that was their original logo for Firebird. Well, it was Phoenix and then Firebird. They were going to use the same logo, but they obviously had to change the name again. And then the initial release of Firefox, I remember that when it came out, was September 2002. But it came out, it was 0 point something. For a long time, it was point whatever. It took like till 2004, as it says there, to get up to version 1. I can remember version 1 coming out. I think that's when I started properly using it. It looks like somebody's got that on Windows 98 or something, looking at that dodgy screenshot there. So that came out then and started to become quite popular as a rival. And then fast forward a long way to today. But that is a screenshot of Firefox in Ubuntu on the bottom. You can't see it. It's quite kind of crowded. I've also put a lot of text on these. But the current version, as of today, is 72.02, apparently. So we've gone from version 1 to version 72.
Yeah, but they did kind of, because of Chrome.
Well, so basically, they at some point, they spent ages doing, I think there was 3.1 and 3.2 and 3.3, and then suddenly it jumped to like 6, Firefox 6 overnight.
3-point releases, wasn't it?
Yeah, and now they just, like, because Chrome came out, so it says at the bottom there, they changed the numbering scheme because reasons. Also because Chrome's numbering came out, and people have this, it's like the marketing department or somebody were like...
Lotus had a thing in the 90s, because Lotus used to make really good desktop publishing packages.
Like 1, 2, 3? And
And
and notes.
With Word 6 or whatever, it was a higher number than the Lotus equivalent.
Okay.
Lotus than most of the Mac.
One louder?
Yeah, you're right, actually. Well, this is what I was going to say, actually. It goes all the way up to 11. It's that thing people have about, like, for some reason, I've got Chrome 72, and you've got, like, Firefox 68, so you're clearly not as good as me. It's just this weird thing people have. So whatever reason, the Mozilla marketing people were like, oh, we need to start ramping up the numbering. A bit like Linus did with the kernel, which was fantastic. We had the 2.6 kernel for about 10 years, and then one day he just went, I'm going to make it 3. And now we're up to 5.4 or something, I think. Just because he was...
64 as well, then Atari brought out the 65XE, just to be one better.
That's amazing. Well, 64-bit makes sense. We've got 65 bits. I think I've done that. Yeah, well, why not? All right, and so...
Chrome's on version 80 anyway, so they're still...
Oh, is it? Oh, well. So they're still catching up.
Give up time was at the death.
They're still catching up. All right, and so to the actual kind of the reasons why I love Chrome. Love Chrome. Oh God, that's a I don't love Chrome. I've been infiltrated already.
This is later. There'll be a
Firefox. I was just going to say there'll be an overdub. Yeah. So some of the reasons that I love Firefox. I didn't really. I mean, I'm sure you've all probably used it and know a bit about it, or you've seen it. Most people have seen it. For a while, Chrome did seem to take over, certainly with like casual users. Chrome was like, everyone used to go on about it was fast and it was all this other stuff. And Chrome became really popular, and I don't know, I just being a curmudgeon stuck with Firefox. I do use Chrome occasionally, but I still prefer Firefox to anything else. So here was where we get to the non-religious war bit. I've put it's open source in name and in spirit. That's a bit of a veiled dig at Chrome, to be honest, because one of the things I love about Firefox and Mozilla in general is their projects are all open, and you can contribute to them, and you can get the code, and you can do all that. Now, you can get the code for Chrome as well. You can find it, you can download it, but good luck trying to work out what it means, or there's no documentation with it. They basically don't want anyone outside of their core group to really do anything with it. That's just my opinion, obviously, so take it with a pinch of salt. But that's why I say open source in spirit as well, because with Chrome they tend to like code dump stuff and just throw it over the wall, and then like they do with Android, like Google do with Android as well, you don't really get any support if you want to get involved as a Chrome developer. Whereas Firefox, they rely quite heavily. There's a lot of core developers within core team, within Mozilla who make it, but you can actually get involved, and I like that about it. Obviously, also Mozilla's very active in web standards, as I've put there, fighting for web standards and making sure that things like the W3C, who look after. Well, they're the governing body, supposedly, who set down the standards for HTML and CSS and all the other things that you would know of, JavaScript maybe. They lobby them for certain things, and then you've also got Apple, Google, Microsoft, others who lobby them as well. But Mozilla always seem to push for more open standards. I'm sure they're not perfect, but and then this is the the third point's quite interesting. It's not made by Google. That's one of the reasons that I like Firefox. I said it wasn't a religious war, but there you go. No, so I'll justify that a bit. So one of the reasons that we've actually seen recently in the last year or so in the news. There was all the talk of Chrome removing the ability to block ads and stuff like that, and people all got up in arms about it, and they were shocked that that could happen. But with my tinfoil conspiracy hat on, it doesn't seem very much of a leap to me to say, to see that Google rely on ads for their business. So if I get my browser from an advert, an ad revenue-based company, what's their incentive to help me stop seeing adverts? There isn't one. They're cutting themselves, cutting their own throat by doing that. So in the end, they didn't do it, Google. They still have ad blocking and stuff. They didn't do it yet, but they're still talking about it.
Aren't they killing third-party tracking cookies in the year or two?
Oh, possibly. I'm not sure.
Track you through Google DNS.
Yeah, well, certainly for privacy stuff and all the rest of it, they don't really seem to. Well, they don't really seem to care about that. Well, I should point out that much as I say all this, I've got an Android phone, so Google knows where I am and who I'm talking to and what I'm doing anyway. So it doesn't worry me that much. But I want to be able to choose what I want in my web browser, so extension-wise and so on. So
that's a point, because they've got form for just pulling extensions.
Google.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have.
You used to be able to run Google Hangouts in Firefox, and you can't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean literally that if you've installed an extension, because there have been a few very malicious ones, and you can understand them.
Yeah.
But
Firefox have just done that though. They've pulled them.
Have they got signed extensions now or something?
The Vast was caught. I don't know. Extension was caught.
Firefox also changed your extension API from time to time.
Yeah.
So you upgrade Firefox and suddenly your extensions dealt with it.
So I've got some. That's in my other not so great things about it. So they have had a few problems with that. We'll get to them in a bit. So now, funnily enough, the next point was about extensions and add-ons. So we've got there is a big ecosystem of extensions and add-ons for Firefox. To be honest, I don't have loads of extensions installed. I only have about 3. One of them I'm going to show you today about containers, for using containers. But there's so many things out there. Whatever you want to do, chances are there's someone's written an extension for it. But like you said, you've got to be careful, really. And the good thing is that they do rate them, and they have all the other sort of stuff on there. So if you go for one that's got millions of installs and 5-star ratings and stuff, your chances are it's not going to be it's not going to be written by somebody dodgy. So there's that. Innovative features such as containers, which I'm going to get to in more detail. But there's other things in there as well. Some of their anti-tracking stuff's really, really good. And script blocking stuff and that's already in there. And I did say there might be more than 5 reasons.
They're still the base of Tor browser, aren't they?
Firefox, yeah. So there's the whole Iceweasel thing as well, which people get confused about. I didn't put that in, but basically, if you've ever used Debian Linux, you'll see that the browser's called Iceweasel, and you might think, what's that about? It's just Firefox rebranded. For some reason, Debian don't like having the Firefox branding in there, or they're not allowed to use it. Is that the rules?
If you're not allowed to change the code
Right. Okay.
It's open source, so you can change the code if you want. But if you change the code,
You can't call it
you can't
Firefox.
call it Firefox. It's
Makes
the same
sense.
as Ubuntu.
There's
You
actually
can't- you
a
can't-
flag in the codes as well, so if you want to use the iSweasel brand, then you basically just change one line of
That's,
code.
that's
Oh, right.
it used to be iSweasel, but since the following updates, now changed to Firefox.
Has it changed to Firefox? Now, maybe they've changed the rules or something. I don't know.
Or maybe they're now using
The stock Firefox.
Firefox.
The official build.
The problems they were trying to fix have been fixed
For
in it.
years though, it was iSweasel.
I think this is the
It
problem.
was, yeah. iSweasel was massive.
Is trying to
Excuse
keep on
me.
top of books is just impossible.
Mm.
This is why everybody forks Chromium.
Chromium, yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. So, yeah, as I said, there are more than 5 reasons. I just kept going. So, another thing I like is, and you could say this of Chrome and other things, but it works everywhere. I've put truly cross-platform. I put iOS question mark because I don't have any iOS devices. Does it work on iOS? It's not on iOS.
All web browsers in iOS basically run
Safari.
WebKit, yeah.
Right.
I found this out
WebKit
recently.
skin.
Yeah, I found this out recently. I was like, what? I was like, yeah, it's all WebKit. It's
Okay.
Firefox.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So I've got I use Firefox on Android a bit as well. I do use Chrome on Android as well sometimes, but it does work well on Android, and it works everywhere else I need it, which is basically Linux or Windows occasionally. So it works for that. Privacy and anti-tracking features are baked in, as I put. So they're mostly switched on by default, but they ask you when you first start it up, it'll ask you if you want to be tracked or not, and if you want to send the do not track thing. It's down to the sites to respect that or not, but the EU did do a load of campaigning around this. Developer tools I put are great. I used to use Firebug. Anyone use Firebug?
I
Know
used
about
it in the previous job.
Yeah, I don't think it exists anymore. Yeah.
All the built-in tools are really good.
So the built-in tools are very like Firebug used to be. So yeah, you've got your built-in developer tools, which, to be fair, and I put at the bottom, Chrome has good developer tools too. There you go. Just to be fair, it does. But I used to use basically Firebug, so I get used to pressing F12 on a website to pull up the little thing to look through the code and change things and see what was going on. But now it's all kind of built in as well, which is great. So onto the main. There you go. Yeah, the main kind of meat of the thing. Firefox containers. Has anyone used them? I know you have. I know Will has. Does anyone use Firefox containers?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's really good because you might get something useful out of this. I was hoping everyone wasn't just going to go, yeah. So within, since about, I think it's 2016, they first came in, or they first talked about them. The Mozilla developers wanted to have a system where you could truly isolate different tabs within your browser. I mean, processors are often isolated anyway in the CPU, but what they wanted to be able to do was have completely different sessions. So if you want to be logged into, say, more than one logged into with more than one account on even the same website, you can use separate containers in different tabs, so you don't have to have 2 browsers open.
Like opening private browsing windows.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And it keeps it isolated, and you can group things within containers, categories, we'll see in a minute. So I could have, like, by default, it gives you like a shopping container and a banking container, and I forget what else. But you could say, I only do me shopping stuff in the shopping container. And what there's a number of things it does. It means you could then be logged in another container on the same site with a different account if you wanted, but it also isolates them so you don't get the cross-site scripting stuff going on, which is quite handy. And then, well, I've put that. I know why I put those questions there, but anyway. So why would I use them? There's 2 reasons I've already told you, but I'll show you in a minute. How do you turn them on? I'm going to show you how to do that, and then temporary containers, which are exactly what they sound like. You can get it to fire up a temporary container either based on a URL pattern. So if you go to a certain site quite a lot that you don't want necessarily to be attached to all your other sites in any way, you don't want any cookies or anything like that hanging around, you can set the temporary containers extension to look for certain patterns in the URL and fire them up for you, or you can fire them up manually.
This interests
Just
me
destroy
a lot
them.
because I've got issues with Facebook.
Oh yeah.
Well, that was the original.
There's a Facebook
That's how we
container.
originally started the container. So
That's
right,
very-
Firefox. I'm not sure it was a developer, Firefox developer, or somebody.
Oh, that's interesting.
When the whole Facebook privacy stuff was
Yeah.
kicking off, the original start for this was a Firefox tab,
Yeah.
and it was a Firefox container that people would open. Facebook in, and that's where it all started.
Yeah, this is very cool.
It makes sense actually. Yeah. All right, and so I won't spend ages going on about containers. I may as well show you. Yeah, there you go. So time to get out of this and actually show you how to turn them on. This is quite a new laptop, so I don't think I've even got them turned on this. This is good because I'll have to switch them on. I need to move this over to the right window or you won't see it. Oh, excuse me. The touchpad's a bit annoying on this. Oh, the resolution's tiny. Okay, you don't need to see what I've... Oh, brilliant. So I'm going to have to go like this. Because it's not on both screens. So let me go to just a blank tab. Okay, there you go. So it's actually built in. It's been built into Firefox for ages, but they don't really talk about it for whatever reason. They're not fully kind of exposed to the public at the moment, all the container stuff. So although it's in there, you have to like enable it, which is the bit that I didn't know about. So if we go to on here and then go to add-ons, so obviously this has not got it installed at the moment. Now for some reason, I don't know why this is, there'll be a flag somewhere that you can set in the config that will switch on the container stuff. But honestly, the fastest way I've found to do it is just install the temporary containers plugin and then it turns everything on for you. And then you get all the normal containers as well. So I just do that because I quite like temporary containers anyway. So if we search for temporary containers, here we go. All right, so let's see. Yeah, so a lot of these like 2 users, 5 users. So I don't know what any of those are like, I'll be honest with you, but the top one is the one we're going to go for, which has got 17,000 users. So if we click on that, there you go, you can see what it does. Oh, it's actually installed, sorry. Looks like I have installed it. I tell you what I'll do. I'll remove it and then stick it back in again. So obviously you just add it if you were coming to do this for the first time, and then it will ask you for, can I have permissions to do this? So we'll say yes, because we trust it, and then it says that's been added. So we can say OK. And now what it's done, oh, there we go. So that's the settings page it gives you, the default one. So I'll be honest with you, I just left this as it was because the defaults were OK. The first time I did it, I put automatic mode on. That was a mistake because it means every tab you open, it fires up a separate container for it, which isn't actually that useful in some situations. So you can, if you want, just click. If you tick that, to be fair, it probably tells you. There you go. It does tell you this. It does tell you this when you. I didn't do that. I just switched it on. So I don't want that. But you can do various things, stopping pop-ups, all that sort of. Choose your container prefixes. There's a lot of these things I haven't properly looked through, if I'm honest. But if we go to things like isolation, for example, there you go. You can choose domains, target domains, which is interesting. There's loads of stuff in here that I haven't actually. Exclude permanent containers. There's all kinds of settings. Per domain you can choose. You can add domain patterns. That's what I was talking about. If you want to put in, some pattern for some websites that you go onto that you think you always want to be in a contemporary container, it'll do that. You can import and export your settings from one machine to another if you've installed this on another machine and you've spent ages setting up like URL patterns and you don't want to do it again. You can do that.
That's interesting. I didn't know it.
What export? Import, export.
Didn't know it sync to Firefox sync, because it's the most annoying thing about the Firefox.
Oh yeah, so you can even do it. To be honest, I actually don't use Firefox sync, although...
I do, but Firefox container plugin doesn't... So you go through and you create all your containers and sync, set up all your URLs to open in whatever containers, and then when you blow away Firefox and move to another machine and go, don't know any of that, start from scratch.
Yeah. Well, that's useful then. So you can do that. If that works, I don't use Firefox sync. Oh, well, apparently it's exported it to it, so I don't know where that's gone. Maybe it is already in there. I used to, years ago, when that first came in, you could do tab syncing or something. I used to do that, where you could have even between the phone and or another device and the laptop, you could open a tab and then it would just send it to the phone, so you could have it open in the phone as well at one point.
Still,
yeah,
there's about 5
still
or 6
does.
things that will sync.
I use that all the time.
Yeah. So that's another feature I didn't mention before, which is another great reason to use. Although Chrome does do syncing as well. But then again, it's got to go through Google, so, leave that up to you. All right, and so now that we've got this installed, what we can do is, let's pick a tab, any tab. That'll do. That's a blog post I found about containers. So this was the thing. It came around in 2016 when they started kicking it off. But anyway, let's say that I want to reopen that in a container. So obviously now when I right click on that, I've got reopen it in a container. They're the categories by default. You've got personal, work, banking, shopping, whatever. They're just names. You don't use them for whatever. To be honest, I use the shopping one quite often for all kinds of stuff that's not anything to do with shopping. It doesn't really matter. They're really just names. You can make up your own names, do what you want. So if we do reopen this in a personal container, you'll see that it gives you a color code to the tabs as well, which is quite nice. So the default ones, I'll open that one as well. The default ones are like blue, orange, pink, green. So let's say we're going to have that in the banking one, for example. So we could look at, say, the selection of tabs, and immediately see I'll move that out of the way, immediately see what containers they were in, which is quite useful, because some things you might want to group together for whatever reason. You might want to group certain sites together. Now, if we do, where are we now? There we go, yeah, so it tells you there it's in the banking tab, it's in the banking container. And then I think you can also, if I, is that gonna, no, that's just giving me the typed things. There's, which one is it? Not that one, not that one. One of the toolbars will tell me the temporary container thing. Where is it now? All right, this is where I should have practiced this before. Let's see, is it under it? New window, we could do that, new window. And then, excuse me. I can't remember the keyboard shortcut for the temporary container. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to that thing with the instructions on it. Where was it? No, that's it there. Not that one. There's the next one. This is the problem when you've got too many tabs open as well. Right, here we go.
Especially when you're trying to do it behind your back.
Yeah, when you're trying to look over your shoulder and my neck's going to be killing me later. And do this. Right, there we go. So I'm just wondering what the control is for this. I can't remember now.
Is it advanced?
Maybe. Let's have a look.
There you go, keyboard shortcuts.
Yeah. Well done. Alt and C to open a new tab in a contemporary container. All right, so let's give that a go then. Alt C. Ah, okay, there you go. So now it's called it TMP1, and
It's got a grey.
It's got like a grey thing. You can choose, I think, what colour you want. Does it let me do it there? It's not letting me do it there.
It's cool because the way it does that is it's akin to like labels in Gmail or like virtual desktops or something.
Yeah, it is pretty useful. So, I mean, something that I found it useful for is, although I've slagged Google off a bit, I do have about like 5 Google accounts for various things. And sometimes, I mean, you can actually, to be fair, in Google now, you can have multiple accounts open and switch between them, but for a while it was quite annoying. And also, you might not, if you're worried about privacy and you don't necessarily want all your accounts linked together, you might want to be logged into Google in one tab, one container and one identity, and then logged into it again in another container and a separate identity.
The other one would be Twitter, because you can't change on desktop and between
that's true, yeah.
So that'd be handy.
Instagram and stuff like that as well, yeah.
Yeah. So it's good for all that kind of stuff, really. There's nothing massively groundbreaking about it, really, but it's just, as a concept, I think it's quite cool. It's amazing that most people don't really know about it.
Yeah, I didn't know anything.
I'm not sure why it's not turned on. Maybe not temporary containers, but I'm not sure why the actual containers themselves don't seem to be enabled, because if you remove, or if you just go to a browser that doesn't have temporary containers added, like the add-on, or you go to, you remove it for whatever reason, you'll notice that there doesn't seem to be any way to use containers after that. So they're there, but they're just kind of like hidden. So I'm not sure why that is. I think they're planning to roll them out more. They're pretty stable. They've been around since 2016, as I said, so
it's
fairly well.
Like, Windows 10 gives you virtual desktops now built in. Like, I'm the only person that uses it. Because
I use that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, from you have
You're right, yeah.
perspective, like, no one really gets what a virtual desktop is, so I'm guessing it's probably a similar.
It might be, yeah.
Thing, maybe.
It might be. But I'm hoping they're going to really kind of become the standard, really, for a lot of things, because there is a lot of reasons to use them. Let's see what we're up to now.
I reckon if they marketed it like you did with the whole like banking thing, isolating that like that.
Yeah, isolating, yeah.
They talk about the Facebook container extension a lot on Twitter.
Yeah.
That's how I found out about it.
I think that's just, I think that does a similar thing. It just like enables or lets
Yeah,
you see it.
it'll automatically, if you load up any Facebook, Instagram, whatever, it automatically adds it into that container for you, so you don't have to set it all up.
That's quite
And
cool.
a really nice thing about it is if you're on any other sites that load anything from Facebook, it blocks
It tells you, yeah.
because you're not in the container, so it won't run. So
Mm.
Facebook doesn't know.
So that's one of the big problems now is all these so many sites have like a login with Facebook, login with Twitter button.
Yeah, it just
Or one,
it
even just a
blocks all
box
those requests.
with likes in it, so and so's like this page, all that
That's
shit.
enough to track your.
Yeah. So I had a my uncle rang me and said that he couldn't get into any websites or something. He'd lost all his logins. So anyway, after a long protracted phone discussion about what was actually going on, what he'd done is he stored all of his passwords in Facebook. So apparently Facebook, I didn't even know Facebook did this, but he's like, I go into Facebook and I log into Facebook and that logs me into the email site, which is something else, and then it logs me into like whatever. So I said, so you basically you're using it as a password manager, which sounds really bad. But he said he thought someone had got into his Facebook account, so I went, well, what does that matter? And he's like, well, everything else is linked to it. So I was like, well, probably a reason not to have everything linked to it. But to be fair to him, I mean, I think he sorted it out in the end. But he was in a big panic because someone had like hacked his Facebook account, which turned out meant they had access to everything. It's probably why they hacked it. But there we go. So I haven't got a lot to demo for you in that. I mean, I could show you logging into different sites, but I mean, with different identities, but I mean, you can imagine what that's going to look like, so I probably don't need to do that. So the temporary containers, I find them really useful. I haven't, to be fair, gone into a lot of this, where are we now? Isolation, sorry. I haven't set up a lot of this stuff to do with the automatic domains, but you can get some fairly sophisticated rules on it if you want.
Do the regular containers support that? Because that's something I always found confusing. Maybe this is
sure.
where I'm not sure what they do, or what Mozilla said, why they haven't pushed it fully.
Yeah.
Because I've never been able to get like certain domains to automatically open in certain containers. I never quite figured it out.
It's a bit weird. So what I tend to do is you open a tab or whatever, you create a new container tab, and then you.
Oh, yeah, I can go to that one.
Like,
Hang on, I've remembered now. It's Alt-C, isn't it? There you go. There you go.
We open the
Temp2.
tab in the BBC container,
Yeah.
go to bbc.co.uk, and then you have to click the container button and say always open in this
Oh,
site.
okay.
Or
Yeah,
always
so-
open this site in this container.
Okay.
So it's telling me it's going to give me cookies and stuff, yeah, so there we go.
And then next time you visit that site, you get a
It'll
pop-up and
automatically
it
do it.
says, do you want to always open this site? So you have to basically do it twice. And I haven't
Okay.
found a way around it.
So how do you do that?
You basically have
Oh,
to
yeah.
train it.
So I don't know about temporary containers, but you create a new container.
Oh, I see. Put it in, like, reopen this in, like, banking or something.
Yeah, so you do reopen.
So I reopen that in
in
work,
Work.
for example, because I work.
And then if you click on your container.
So you can see it's asking me again about all the cookies. That's just because obviously
I
each
don't know where
one's
your
isolated.
container button is.
That is a very good question.
Is it just the work
Or if you just click
icon?
on that
And
pocket.
Well, I thought that you'd just click the work icon, but it's not.
Oh.
Because I'm right-clicking it and left-clicking it and nothing's happening. Oh,
But wherever you, on your container button, you do like always open BBC.
It'll be here
This
somewhere.
tab.
Library? No, that's bookmarks, isn't it?
And then the next time you go to that page, it'll say,
I wonder what's under
"I'm
more.
gonna do this." Yes.
Oh, not a lot. There's a task manager.
So it's a bit.
Customized preferences. To be honest,
it needs refining a little.
yeah,
bit.
Yeah,
I think I
I-
got frustrated and gave up.
You have to do it twice, and it's
Yeah.
like, I've already told you to do it once.
Yeah.
I think they're not fully like ready for prime
They
time
don't really.
in that
They
sense.
seem to have.
It seems at the moment, and I've got nothing. I know nothing inside of Mozilla really, but it seems as though technically it all works. All the back end stuff's great, but it seems like their UI is a bit confused. There's like multiple ways to do the same thing, so maybe that's why they haven't pushed it.
Maybe there's a toolbar button you need to add or something like that.
It could be. When I did it, it said I've added this, and it pointed something in. What's that? That's Pocket, is it? Yeah. So I don't use Pocket, so it's not that. That's.
So, yeah, you
Is it in the
probably
meatball menu?
See, I thought that, but I couldn't see it before. See, temporary containers. What does that do? But that's greyed out because I'm not in a temporary container. Oh, do you know what I might be able to do? If I go to, I had something open in a temporary container, didn't I? It was that one. I wonder if I go to temporary containers, will it let? No. Never mind. I thought maybe I could say always open this in a, click on it and say
Go
always
to a
open
page
this
that
in a.
isn't in a container.
That one's not.
Well, but that's you.
Oh, that's me saying to page.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not.
And now try it.
On there.
Oh,
No,
no,
it's still greyed out.
that's annoying.
If you right click on the tab, can you always open it?
You can certainly tell it to reopen in a container. Let's see. Reopen in a container. Oh, as you can see, it's listed the temporary ones now as well.
Oh,
So I could like say, I want to add that to
Yeah.
temporary container 1 or 2. Move the tab, send it to a device. No, you'd think it would be there, wouldn't you?
I think you need to add a button from here.
I was just going to say, you probably need to add a button there. That's, I don't want that. Let's open a new tab. What's that one? Oh yeah, open a new temporary container. Oh, that's just done what I thought. That's just done what Alt and C did, basically. Yeah. So unfortunately, I can't give you an expert view on how to use the controls on it, but it does work, and it's worth playing around with as well. Let's see. So there is a couple more slides to go back to. So I'm going to close this for now. Oh, hang on. 14 tabs open. All right, I'll just minimise it. Oh, that one. And then I'm going to slip back to this and do F5. Excuse me, I have to cut through some of these. Where are we? Okay, so next one. There you go, yeah. So it's not all sweetness and light, as I put. Yeah, so, I mean, it's not perfect. Firefox does have its issues, and so do the containers and other things. But for me, it's about the best option I've found. That's a personal opinion. They've always been pretty quick to fix things that have gone wrong. I don't know if anyone knows this, but it's the reason there's a turtle on there is because for years, like I'm talking about, I don't know, I haven't heard anyone mention it in a few years, but for a good 5 or 6 years between, say, like 2008 and 2013, people would say to me, I don't use Firefox, it's too slow. And I'd say, what are you talking about? And they'd be like, well, you always get that turtle message, the error message. Now, I've never seen this. And so much so that I couldn't find a picture of it. So that's why there's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle there, because I couldn't find a screenshot of this turtle image. But apparently, if you had too many tabs open and your machine wasn't fast enough, then when you tried to open another tab, it would show a picture of a turtle, and it would say, like, sorry, we're in slow mode or something. And now, I don't even know if this is true, because I've been Googling a bit today and looking around. I should say I've been DuckDuckGoing it, actually. But I've been looking around, and I can't find a screenshot of it. But back when I used to do the podcast, Linux Outlaws, my co-host, Fab, used to slag off Firefox all the time, and he'd go, oh, that stupid turtle thing. And I never knew what he was talking about. And I still don't, if I'm honest, because I can't find anywhere. But if anybody's ever seen that, please let me know, or knows what it is. But apparently there is like a mythical turtle icon thing that comes up if you're too slow. Interestingly, I was reading today on the speed stuff. I haven't put graphs and stuff in here, but there was a period where Chrome was faster because of the JavaScript engine was really fast when it came out, but it quite quickly caught up. You've also got, you were talking about WebKit before, so WebKit, the kind of underlying technology framework, whatever, that's used by Safari and Chrome and other things, is different to like Gecko, and Gecko's the engine that Firefox uses. People slag Gecko off a lot, and it did have some rough times. It was a bit slower, but it's got a lot faster now. And I had a look on some benchmarks today from last year, I think it was, or middle of last year. They some tests of like all the major browsers, including now things like Edge, Microsoft Edge, and obviously Chrome, Firefox. I think Opera might have been in there. Anyway, Safari. And there was like 7 different categories. They were testing them for speed, and Firefox came top out of 4 of them. So that's pretty good. So I don't know. That's anecdotal evidence, obviously, but in my opinion, I haven't had a speed problem with Firefox, but people do complain about that. And the other thing was something I found about today. Neil was saying before about just, extensions and add-ons getting disabled by, for some reason. Apparently last year, I don't remember this, but apparently last year, Mozilla made a bit of a boo-boo where they let a certificate expire so that all the extensions then couldn't validate against Firefox, so it disabled every extension and every add-on in everyone's browser for about a day or so until they got it fixed. So clearly they're not, they get.
I think I remember that.
Right.
Microsoft Teams had one that expired yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say Microsoft Teams certificate, expired yesterday, and nobody could log into Teams.
Yeah.
They also did something
The certificate expired.
last year, I think.
Yeah,
they changed the API.
Firefox. Yeah.
And it was
Happens surprisingly frequently.
It was supposedly a security thing.
Okay.
So it reduced the amount of access.
Oh yeah, they changed the way plugins could be developed, didn't they? Yeah, you're right.
Plugins interacting with
Yeah.
the core browser.
I'd forgotten that. You're
A
right.
lot of plugins working.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it is far from perfect, but it's the best browser that in my opinion, it's the best browser. As I say, other browsers are available. And then this is the bit where I'm going to tell you what I told you, which you just heard, which is the reason that I like it. Yeah, as I said, it's fast. It's got truly open development. Fast. I put fast and truly open development. Fast development, that is, so it rapidly develops. I should have put rapid, shouldn't I? Security and speed's pretty good. I like the private containers, and it's got some other cool features and stuff. And it works everywhere that I need it to. So I don't know why I put that, but I put, if you haven't tried it, go to getfirefox.com. I'm sure most people have tried it. Has anybody never tried Firefox? If you haven't, it's fine. But no, there you go. And as I put in the interests of fairness and balance and all that, other browsers are available. You're totally free to use them, do what you want. It's all good. The dude abides, as I said. And I also said there wasn't going to be any more Clint Eastwood, but I lied. So if you've got any questions, you can make my day and then fire away. So yeah, anybody got any questions or anything you want to bring up?
Several beers soon.
I know. Well, I might be home by the time he gets in, the way this is going. That was finished in about 40 minutes. That's not bad, actually. Yeah, so I don't know if anybody's got any comments or questions or anything, then you can always find me online as well.
I use Vivaldi, and
do you?
Yeah, this kind of makes me wish Vivaldi had this, because that's a really awesome feature.
So what's the big selling point for Vivaldi then? Because I've heard about it, but I can't remember what it was. Is it lightweight?
It's a little bit more lightweight than Chrome. But like the new Edge.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Like
yeah.
So it's still Chromium, but it's much more customizable. It's got some nice stuff built in already. Like OneTab. It's got its own kind of version of OneTab built in already.
Okay, that's cool.
That's an extension you don't need.
Yeah.
Vimium. You know what that is? So
no.
You can navigate like Vim.
Like Vim.
You can do that.
It's got an Emacs mode.
It's built in, so you don't need that extension.
Okay.
But I like, and it lets me have a square. Like I hate the rounded Chrome now. It just looks stupid.
Okay.
But
well, it's a valid point.
I wish that Vivaldi had this feature, because that is really cool. But this has made me consider switching to Firefox for a bit to see how I like it.
Yeah, I mean, you could give it a go. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if any of the other browsers are doing this shit. I don't think Chrome does it.
No, it definitely doesn't.
No, but then again, seeing as I've been banging that drum all night, I don't see an incentive for Google to try and stop you being tracked or give you these privacy tools, because they don't really. That's not their business.
Well, the thing is, they are trying to drum up the whole. We're into privacy too now. So
there is an incentive for them, because if they keep all your sites containerized,
yeah,
then the only person that gets access to all your data is Chrome.
It's them. You're right. Yeah.
So they're just keeping other people out using cross-site stuff.
Also,
it makes sense.
Keeps you on their platform.
Yes. Yeah.
There is that. Yeah.
Like I say, I mean, they're getting rid of third-party cookies. Too, aren't they, Chrome?
Are they? Right. Okay.
It's going to be interesting, because they're going to break a whole chunk of the web.
Oh yeah, that's a good point actually, because loads of things use.
Loads of websites you go to, and it's like you need to turn on third-party cookies.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I don't. Go somewhere else.
Yeah, that thing. It was an EU directive, wasn't it, that made them bring in the whole. You have to accept cookies now on every site.
All the time.
Yeah, and it never stops.
You don't go.
You turn off JavaScript.
Yeah, but nothing works.
But I was going to say, you also get like a basic text view of your website. You can, I mean.
Browse with links.
I was going to say, browse with links occasionally.
I haven't used links in a while actually. Yeah, I can remember doing that years ago.
You did it. Firefox.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. No, I couldn't get it was an old Linux install, I think, like years and years ago, and I couldn't get the GUI to work. Like I couldn't get X to fire up for some reason, so I had to use links, because what else was I going to do? Well, at the time, yeah. At the time, I don't think I had. I think I could have gone to another computer, but I was like, I know, I'll be elite hacker and do it this way. And then I think I Googled. I got to Google with it and then found something. But yeah. So anyway, if you want to get in touch with anything, that's my details. You probably all know that anyway. Thanks for listening, and yeah. I don't know what's happening next month, but we'll let you know when we do. Stick around, have a chat. All right.
I just figured out the thing with the, you need another extension called multi-account containers, which is made by Mozilla.
Oh.
It seems that like, I think because you used the temporary.
Should we have a look? I use temporary.
And I only had the Facebook container one installed. I think those like activate containers, but not everything to do with containers.
Okay.
So maybe that's why we're getting the UI that says shopping, banking, etc.
If you remove all container using add-ons, then containers are disabled.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you add this one
in about content.
I was just thinking that there'll be a switch somewhere you can put like true. Yeah.
But that can still be turned off if you uninstall all your.
I feel like you
Because there was an extension there that did nothing.
So multi-account containers.
But this multi-account containers one is what gave me the ability to say always open this site in this container.
Yeah, so you tick a box. And
Yeah.
You tick it again, don't you?
Yeah,
That's probably what you.
twice,
Yeah, it's a pain.
Yeah.
Add it. Here we go.
But that's by default. You get multi-account containers with Firefox.
Mine didn't.
That probably just.
Mine's pretty recently installed.
Yeah.
And it didn't have them.
No.
Okay. So
I just looked on the help. Clicked on the right things. It came up. You install the edition. Installed it, and they're there.
But that seems to work good enough.
Oh, that's good.
There you go. That's it on the far right.
Yeah, that's what I've got now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Click through that about 20 times.
Yep.
Oh, my
Keep
God.
going.
Stop
Keep
it.
going. There you go.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's what I just did just before.
Right, okay, yeah. Oh, well, there you go. Well, that's useful anyway. So if anybody wants to play around with it,
Can you do things like group tabs that are in the same container, or only show tabs from a particular container and hide all the other tabs?
Oh, I see, yeah.
It's like a
like
tab grouping tool.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I don't know, actually.
I think you might be able to group
Oh, hang on.
tabs,
Whoops, didn't mean to do that.
but I don't think you can hide.
Sort tabs?
Yeah. There you go.
What does that do?
So it just
That's just grouped all the ones of the same colour together, yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't only show work tabs.
Yeah.
Always open in work. Oh, okay, so that's the thing you were talking about, the tick thing.
But
Edit your containers? What's that about? Oh, right, okay.
so that's how you create.
So you can change your categories and stuff if you want.
How'd you create a new one?
So if you go back, click the
There's a plus button there.
Yeah, that's the one. Be that
and then
one.
your name.
I'm going to call it Neil. There you go. As soon as you asked. And I'll make it purple. And I'll put an icon on it of a knife and fork. Because reasons. There you go. So there's now, if I want to own it in Neil, which is knife and fork, I can do that. I'll take that out again because I don't really need that. Later on, I'll be freaking out going, what's that doing on there? Neil's hacked my computer. Yeah. He's hacked my computer. Actually, I don't know if I can take it off now. I can edit it. I can call it something else. Oh, no, I can. There's a big dustbin next to it. There's a big trash can there that I wasn't paying any attention to. There you go. So that's worth knowing as well, and use the multi-account one instead of just the temporary containers one. So there's all kinds of stuff in there. It's worth playing around with. Right, close that for now.
Maybe over 100.
Oh, don't want to do that actually. You know what, I'm going to switch this back to normal display mode. My neck is killing me now.
I want to put my containers in a container.
Yeah, so you make a super container.